I became a Christian when there was a revival speaker at our church, and my mom asked me if I'd like to let Jesus come into my heart, and so I said yes, and I can remember that my family and the revival preacher, we knelt at the front, and that's when I accepted the Lord Jesus Christ.
Ila.
Hi.
Can you tell me your full name?
Ila Maxine Hagen.
What year were you born?
1942.
Where were you born?
I was born in Wolf Point, Montana.
Okay. What was your childhood like?
Well, I was born into a family that went to church regularly and read the Bible in the home. My school life was first in a one-room schoolhouse, so that was different. All the grades were there, or maybe some years there weren't some of the grades, but it would be very different than going to school in town, because we lived out in the country.
Okay.
My parents were, my dad was a farmer and my mother worked at home.
Okay.
And my dad also did carpenter work when he needed a second job.
Okay. When did you become a Christian?
I became a Christian when there was a revival speaker at our church, and my mom asked me if I'd like to let Jesus come into my heart, and so I said yes, and I can remember that my family and the revival preacher, we knelt at the front pew in church, and that's when I accepted Lord Jesus Christ. And the speaker gave me the Bible verse, "Whoever calls upon the Lord shall be saved," from Romans 10:13.
So both your parents were believers. They were both
Yes.
Christians. Okay.
And
both.
my mom was also a prayer warrior. She prayed for family and she prayed for missionaries.
Okay.
Oh yes, maybe I'll tell this little story.
Please.
We were quite little yet. I'm not sure. I probably went to school already, like grade 1 or something, but sometimes my brother and I would sit on the steps, on the basement steps, and we would pray. And we would pray for the calamities. And my mother always prayed for people who had calamities. And I don't think we even knew what that word meant. But we knew that my mom prayed for calamities.
Okay. That's a good one.
Yeah.
How did you come to Canada?
I went to school at Briarcrest Bible College, and that is where I met my husband, and so that was one way of being connected to Canada. And my mom also had a sister in Canada, and we would visit them about once a year. So that was my connections with Canada growing up.
Okay.
And with Briarcrest too, we always listened to their radio program on Sunday morning. Yeah, so of course I met my husband there, and then after we graduated, then we got married, and so then that's when I started living in Canada.
Of course. What year did you get married?
1963.
How many children did you have?
The Lord blessed us with 11 children.
Okay.
And now we have 5 great-grandchildren, and at this point they're all daughters.
Oh, wow.
They're all girls.
Nice. How was your marriage? What was it like? What did you guys do together?
The first 5 years of our marriage, we were working with the Canadian Sunday School Mission. And during that time, we lived about 2.5 years in Whitecourt and about 2.5 years in Thorhild.
Okay.
Then after that, we went farming. We took over Gordon's parents' farm, and then we were farming at Eureka River.
Okay. What was that like? Was it a good life? Did you enjoy farming?
Oh yeah, farming was all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we were active in the little Eureka River church, and my husband also drove school bus those first years we were at Eureka River.
Okay, so you farmed and drove school bus.
Yeah.
Okay. So you enjoyed raising a family and just having your life in Eureka River there? Yeah?
It was a busy life.
Okay.
Since our family was big, it was a pretty busy life.
Okay. What kind of things did your kids like to do, like sports and?
Yeah, we were mostly in hockey.
Mostly in hockey?
Yeah, most of our boys were in hockey.
Okay.
Yeah.
You did end up getting a divorce.
Yeah, it turned out after a while that there were some problems happening, and then I didn't really want a divorce, but it happened anyway, and then I had to live like a single mother, even though I still felt like I was a married woman.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so the first couple of years were pretty hard because I felt like I was in a grieving mode. But I was able to take care of the children that were with me, and I did keep going to church, even though the first few times I went to church after that, I felt like I didn't really want to talk to anyone at church, but I kept going anyway.
Yeah.
Because I thought if I quit going, maybe down the road it would be really hard to get started to go back to church.
Did you
anyway.
still feel accepted by your church?
Yeah. Yeah, I think they still accepted me.
Okay.
Although there was one other lady there that I knew that had probably, she was married, but I think she had divorced her first husband, so maybe. But I probably didn't talk to her about the divorce, but
okay.
But yeah, they accepted me there, and I was able to be active in that church even though I was divorced.
Okay.
Yeah. And the community was good too, like our boys were in hockey, and our two youngest boys, and as they got a little older, then they didn't want to be in hockey, and so then we went into basketball. And some of the other parents sometimes had to take the children to the games, because in certain years they would be on separate teams, and I couldn't go to two games at the same time, so then they would have to go with other parents.
Okay.
So I would say that there was some support from the community and from church.
Have you forgiven your ex-husband?
Well, I have worked on forgiving him, and you forgive once, but then after a while you have to forgive again because things pop up in your mind.
Yeah. Okay.
There's that initial forgiveness, and then when different things happen, then it kind of comes up again, and oh yeah, I must forgive for that reason too.
Okay.
Yeah.
You enjoyed being a mom?
Yes, I think I enjoyed being a mom.
Yeah. What advice?
Yeah,
what advice would you give to other women?
Well, in my case, I was a stay-at-home mom, except later on when there was a divorce, and then I had a job. Yeah. Oh yeah, I didn't talk about the job. I knew I would have to get a job, but I didn't know out in the country where I would get a job. And I looked a little bit in the newspaper, but then I feel like the job came to me, and so I believed that would be that God was looking after me. Because the home care nurse phoned me and said they were looking for another home care aide, and so I put my application in, and another lady had put her application in, and they chose me. Mm-hmm. And so then I was a home care worker out in the country there.
Okay.
And I went to people's homes and did whatever was required for the home care in that home. So.
Okay. What are your thoughts on Canada? Do you like living here?
Yeah, I like living in Canada. The people are fine. They're interesting, and the environment is a little different here where I live because there's lots of trees here. Where I grew up, it was less trees and lots of sky.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about your relationship with the Lord?
Sure.
Like, just tell me how it's maybe panned out over the course of your life, like high points and low points, and maybe just where you're at now.
Yeah, and I was probably around 13 or 14 when at Bible camp, I know I dedicated myself to the Lord. I would follow him wherever he would lead me, and probably I might have done the same thing at Bible school. Anyway, I think my walk with the Lord was fairly constant, but I'm sure there were ups and downs too. Because I know when the children were little, it was really hard. There wasn't much time like to read the Bible or to read it consistently, like to have a quiet time consistently.
Yeah.
Because if you sat down to be quiet, well, then the toddler would always want to come and sit with you. Because, oh, Mom's sitting down, I can be by Mom now.
Nice.
And but I did try to. That came easier when there weren't little children anymore, to have more of a quiet time and pray and read the Bible. And
Sure.
and at church too, I did go to a ladies' Bible study several times. Got into a ladies' Bible study, so that was good.
Nice.
Because then we had to do questions between the times we were meeting, and so that would help me to stay in the Word. Oh yes, I should probably talk about this too. I think it was in the beginning of divorce when I was talking to a lady, and she was I think she was a counselor, and she told me whenever things bothered me, I probably told her that certain things bothered me, and how would I do them now when there wasn't a husband living with me. She said to watch when I was reading Bible, to look for verses that would, so I'll just mention a few of the verses that became precious to me. One was in Psalms, I think it's Psalm 3, where it talks about sleeping, and the Lord sustained. Sleeping was kind of hard at first because of the thoughts that would be running through my mind when I was going to go to sleep, or as soon as I woke up in the morning. And another one, there's one in Psalms where it talks about tears being put into a bottle, that God puts our tears into a bottle. And verses like, "Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, I will give you rest." Verses like that. And this is the day that the Lord hath made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. Sometimes you didn't really feel like rejoicing, but you knew that God had made this day. So I better try to have a better attitude toward that particular day.
That's awesome. Thank you, Ila.
So, you're welcome.
Awesome. That's an interview.
Okay.
Perfect.